Yo, what is up guys? And today we're going to be talking about how you should be building your Politis. Now you guys probably already have Politis because she's such a meta unit. She's available from the Season 2 Selective Summon and her banner is also currently running. So there is a very high chance you have her. And if you don't know how to build her, we're going to be talking about how you guys should be building her and actually how you guys should be using her as well. Now we're going to talk about two separate builds. There is a damage oriented build. As you can see on your screen here, we actually have our own Politis on this build. There's also going to be a tanky stun bot effect in this build, which is pretty good against slower teams as well. So starting off guys, so we're going to talk about the damage oriented build. Now why do you actually want to build her on a damage oriented build here with high crit damage and high attack with 100% crit chance? The reason is that she is actually a good cleaver. Now the reason why she's such a good cleaver is because her S3 has pretty high base damage if you get this to +5. You can see that I have this at +2 because I actually don't have enough Molagora to actually throw around right now. And also because her S2 is an AoE attack that activates when the enemy uses a non-attack skill. And this is very good because as a cleaver, you're going to actually encounter a lot of non-attack skills because that's the main way you shut down cleave. For example, you have like Angel of Light's S2. Counts as a non-attack skill, so Astral Guide's Tranquility secondary effect will actually activate. And if this activates, it's very good because if you run her at around like 240 speed, you can actually use that CR push to cut in front of the enemy team and your team and use her S3 to do a lot of damage. Now, Politis' damage is pretty good, and if you do decide to run her on this damage cleave oriented build, which works pretty good against cleave as well because you can kind of one-shot enemy squishy units, then you definitely want to run her on a speed set and also critical hit chance set for sure. Torrent set works as well. I like critical hit chance though because it makes her a little bit easier to build. And you're going to want to run her on either Toghel's Ancient Book or even something like Abyssal Crown is pretty good as well if you actually have this artifact, which is pretty good because she has 2 AoE attacks. I personally like Toghel's Ancient Book because it allows me to be a lot more flexible, especially in RTA if I decide to cleave with her, instead of making her more of just like an anti-cleave option, but Abyssal Crown works as well. Now for her stats guys, when you run her on this build, you are going to want around 235, 240 speed so that the 30% CR push from her S2 will make her cut in front of units that are super fast. You can drop her speed a little bit more if you are in the lower ranks, but as you go higher, you're going to want to bump her speed up because people will get faster and faster. And then everything else will go into damage. So you want 100% crit chance, you want at least 3k attack, having more is better, and at the very least like 260, 270% crit damage. Just keep in mind you're only going for damage stats with like 230, 240 speed. So you should have a lot of room to actually, buffer damage up a lot because if you do, she will hit extremely, extremely hard. And like I said, she is super good as a cleaver and against cleave as well. For her Molagoras, on this build, you definitely want to max out her S2 and your S3. Her S1 doesn't really matter too much, although it's nice. Even though this does a ton of damage, the most benefit you'll get from your Molagora is from your S2 and S3 because it is your big AoE damage abilities. That's not to say you shouldn't max out her S1. It's still very good because if you actually run her on Toghel's Ancient Book, you can actually soul burn her S1 to do a lot of damage and have that chance to stun a priority target, and then activate your S3 to get that AoE damage out. Now, her S1 is very good at softening up a tankier enemy because you can just soul burn this with Toghel's, like I said, and then S3 right after, and hopefully your S2 should have procced by now or will proc in the following turns. But yeah, just in general, guys, with Politis, you want to pick her into teams that either have non-attack skills or have a lot of CR pushing because she also cuts down the effective CR push by the enemy by 50%, which is extremely, extremely powerful. Now, the secondary build you see on your screen here, this might be actually easier for a lot of you players to build because 1, it doesn't cost you as much Molagora, and 2, because of the fact that if you have a lot of effectiveness gear, this can come in handy. Now this build is going to be pretty similar to the damage oriented build. It's just that you want to go for effectiveness or HP or defense set, and you still want to run speed set. Now for artifact guys, you kind of definitely want Abyssal Crown on this because you're kind of relying on her to stun a lot. That's kind of the point of this build, which is why you're going to want high effectiveness. And this build primarily functions as a anti-cleave unit or a anti like Conquer Lilius, Angel of Light unit that can stun and be very, very annoying with that anti-CR push from her S2. And also because she just has so many AoE abilities to work with Abyssal Crown to stun, and it will actually make it so that her S1 actually will have like a 20% chance to stun, which is very, very annoying. Now this build doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does have very good stunning capabilities, which makes her very strong. And keep in mind her S3 also has that decreased hit chance and unable to be buffed, which can be extremely, extremely annoying to play against. Now keep in mind, if you fight against a very high effect resist cleanser, you might encounter some trouble because they can just cleanse the debuffs that you put on with Politis. But against a team that doesn't have cleansing, This build is extremely powerful, and to be honest, you don't even have to pick her into a team that has a ton of non-attack skills, just like 1 or 2 even, because of the fact that her stunning ability is just super, super annoying how it is, and it makes her very, very annoying to play against. Stats should be the same thing though, guys. For her speed, you want her to be at 240. You want her to be decently fast so she can actually cut, like I said, with the damage build. And also, instead of damage here, you want to actually just put her into bulk and effectiveness, which will make her very strong. Effectiveness is like a, thing that you can ignore for the most part if you don't really care too much about her landing her stuns on high effect resist units. You can actually put it into more damage and bulk if you want, but I like the effectiveness build because it catches a lot of people off guard, especially if they are running units with like, high effect resist. Same thing though as the damage build though, guys. Very good against non-attack skills. That's kind of the point of Politis. This build is just better against slower teams because Politis on the damage build kind of takes her first turn cycle and then kind of dies. She's very, very squishy, but on this build you can surprise a lot of people and kind of bait some key spells onto her because you don't really know what you're fighting until you actually start the battle, so people might get surprised by the tanky Politis build. Now for this build, guys, you definitely want the turn cooldown and the effect chance at +4 on her S3. Her S2, you don't really need to worry about too much. The damage doesn't really matter. And her S1, you want to get this to +4 for that, effect chance. You can see that from the Mulligora setup I have. I kind of run her more on this disrupting stun-bot build, this bruiser build that has a lot of effectiveness and bulk. But for the most part, this is going to be better for your Mulligora because you don't have to invest as much, whereas the damage dealing build, you kind of want to pretty much max out everything. So yeah, Politis, guys, very good unit in RTA. You can use her in defense teams. You can use her in offense teams against like Conquer Ilias, anything with non-attack skills. Very fun unit to use. Definitely recommend using her and building her if you're struggling against cleave or you like to cleave yourself. That being said, I hope this video helped you guys out, guys, and good luck building your Politis.